One of my favorite things to do each year is move from my existing journals into my new ones, so that is what we're going to do today. Get ourselves ready to go for the new year by populating our journals. So going through all of those collections that we set up in our new journal setups and actually filling them in. I have 2 start of journal setups in particular that I have to fill in, so my yearly collections journal and my everyday journal. And as you can probably tell from the timestamps, this one is going to be a long one. So grab your journal, grab your supplies, and let's plan together. Starting first with my yearly collections journal though, this is the journal that holds all of my yearly collections, or the ones that I don't want to have to try and set up again when I inevitably move into a new everyday journal partway through the year. This one is used year upon year, so we do have some layouts that were from 2022 and 2023 in here as well. And while we don't really need to look at the 2022 stuff, I will have to have a little flip through of the 2023 section, just to make sure that there's nothing in here that I want to transfer over. There's nothing in particular on the word of the year page that I have to deal with. My 101 things list, we do have to go through and just make sure that everything is up to date on there, both this section and that section. I want to make sure that my 2323s and 2023 are up to date, and all of the listings of the different instances of the 23 things. And flipping over from this one, I don't need to fill in the book club layout. I don't actually have a book club layout in here for next year because that's going in my reading journal. And I should probably update my no spend challenge to fill in the data that's missing. At the time of filming this, it is the 19th of December, but we also have my habit builder or routine builder. Need to fill in a couple of weeks on this section and months on this section. And then for my future me problems list, I need to go through all of these and consider which ones I actually want to bring forward into my next iteration of the future me problems. So this one and this one. If we're lucky, maybe some of these have actually already been done and I don't have to carry them over. I don't have to fill in my again section of the then and again because this one gets done on the very last day of the year. So I still have a couple of weeks to go. Well, almost a couple of weeks. And then the a word from me, I have my letter in here to read on the 1st of January next year. And then on the 1st of January, I will also write my word from me, or letter to myself, for the next year. So on the 1st of January 2024, writing a letter for the 1st of January 2025 version of myself. That one was the last layout in my 2023 setup, so we're on to 2024. So in terms of the things that we have to set up in this one, we've got my word of the year, and populating what the word is and why I picked it, that kind of thing. We've got my goals, but I won't have anything to populate here because I haven't actually set up my goals. And at the start of the year, the only section I'll be populating is Q1 to list out the goals that I set for myself. After this, we have the 101 things list, which is getting set up in a different video on the channel. So flipping over from that one, we then have the 24 24s in 2024. So I need to decide what my 24 things to do 24 times are going to be. The pages that come after this one are a place to record each instance, so I won't have to record any of those until the new year. Similar with my That's New layout, as I experience new things in the new year, then I can write them down on here. But I don't have anything that I need to put in here ahead of time. After that, we have the future me problems, and that one is going to get populated with anything that we bring over from 2023. And then after that one, we have my savings, which this one's going to be done at the end of each month. We have bills, which I could probably write down any monthly ones that I am aware of. And then home projects, which I do want to start populating, just so that I have those things in mind come the start of the new year. Anything that I can book in, like at the very start of new year, would be kind of nice. Well, you know, when everybody's off holiday period. The pages that follow this one are stats pages, and we don't have anything to fill in terms of like the bulk of the text because I have to wait till the 1st of January, but I do want to put in those little washi tape strips on the email list, so I need to remember to come back and do that. So stats pages. This is my memories page, which again is going to be filled in as we go through the year, so nothing to fill in advance. And then after this, we have the then and again, same idea. 1st of January. Similar for my word from me, which I will write and slot in here on January 1st. The layout after this one is the year in review, and I won't have anything to fill in here because the year hasn't even started, but flipping all the way back, the first thing to do is go and cross off things from my 2023 pages. Now the only thing that's actually to check off on this word of the year layout is whether I completed more than 70 of my 101 things list. So if we flip over and do a quick count, we only actually have 59 things filled in so far, and I really only have plans to do maybe 3 or 4 more maybe. Oh well, actually I have written my 101 things list, so we can color that one in, so that takes us to 60. And the ones that I'm kind of planning on doing are celebrating New Year's Eve with my friends, having Christmas in Australia with the family, which I'm leaving for tomorrow, so it's probably gonna happen, get hot jam donuts at the Queen Vic Market, and go to Sovereign Hill. But that still only takes us to a total of 64, so not quite 70, can't say that I actually did that. So we will cross that off as not completed, because there's no way I'm going to complete another 6 things off this list before the end of the year, along with the stuff that I already said that I'm probably going to complete. Now, as said before, the 101 things list is getting dealt with in another video. You can see some arrows about things that have been migrated, so spoilers, we'll flip away from that one. But getting into my 23/23s in 2023, you can see that some of these certainly got completed. We already have them up to 23 things. Some of them not so much, but honestly that doesn't really bother me. Like, the point of this kind of layout for me is just to bring more of this stuff into my life and record when I do it, more than actually striving to get to 23 in all of the things. That being said though, we might have some that I need to update. Now, for new artists listened to, I don't have anybody to add on there just yet. And in terms of games played, Vogel and I haven't played anything since we played Man of Medan, so that one can get left open. Meat-free dinners is a tricky one because I tend to not record it when we actually have them, and oftentimes if something doesn't have meat in it, it still has something like chicken stock, so I haven't been recording those, so I don't think I have any more to record. As I'm going through these though, I'm also considering which ones I might want to take forward into 2024. So movies watched, certainly coming through. TV show seasons watched, certainly coming through. New artists listened to, I'm not too sure about, but I do want to bring forward podcast episodes. In particular, it might be kind of nice to try some new podcasts as well. Games played will come forward. Meat-free dinners, just because I'm really bad at recording it, I think I might leave that one, but new foods tried, I do want to record. One of the things that I like to set for myself as kind of like a New Year goal every year is to try new things, and that certainly falls into that, so we'll keep that one on. Actually, something I did try was Christmas pudding ice cream, so we can add that one to the list. Social events are already done and they will be moving forward. Dates with Vogel also completed up until current date, so that one's up to date and moving forward as well. Flipping over though, just for fun layouts, that one's already up to 23, as is books read, and I think both of those will move forward too. Though having said that, I am recording my books read in my reading journal, so maybe I'll try and find something else. Hair masks and face masks, I haven't done any that I remember since, oh gosh, the 11th of October. This is another one that I'm not very good at remembering to do, and also not very good at remembering to record when I do it. So maybe I'll leave that one off for next year. 20-minute workouts I am bringing forward, but I'm not going to do 20 minute, I'm going to do 24 minutes. Because I feel like that was a missed opportunity for 2023. 1 litre of water day, already done, will be moving forward. Someday maybe tasks completed, so this is what I used to call my future me problems. And I have a sneaking suspicion that I can fill in some more of these. I just don't remember what they are, so I might have to wait until we get to the future me problems and then come back. Work-free days, that one's going to move forward and is finished. Live streams are the same. Bonus videos I know I've done because we did the entire of the Bujo Basic series and we're doing Vlogmas. So just to make it easy on myself, we're going to write down each of the 5 core collections. Just because each of those got their own dedicated video and there's 5 of them and we have 5 open spaces. In terms of collaborations, I will move this one forward and we can also write down that we are doing a little collaboration with Ohuhu in December, and they're doing a little giveaway with us, so if you haven't seen that one, it means that you're not up to date on Vlogmas. No, that one's in the video about the Year of Planning challenge, so if you want to enter, make sure that you go and check it out. Products in my shop, we don't have any to update there, and I don't think I'm necessarily going to bring this one forward because the aim isn't necessarily to have 24 new products. I mainly only want to make products if I think they're actually going to be useful. But it was still a nice place to capture the things that came out on the shop this year. And then shop sales and $100 saved, those ones all got done. Now we just need to make sure that the actual graph is up to date. For this one I just use a Zig Clean Color dot pen and mark it in that way. So movies watched is at 23, TV show seasons watched is at 23, new artists listened to is at 18, so that's up to date. Then we have 23, 14, 11, 23, 14, 11, 14, 23, 16, 14, 23 and 16, 23, 23 and 8, 23, all the way up to 23, and all the way up to 8, 10, 21, 23, up to 10, 21, 23, 17, possibly more, 23, 23, 17, 23, 23, 23, 18, 7, 23, 23, 23, 18, 7, 23, 23. So that one is up to date now. Because it's not quite the end of the year, I'm not going to go and fill this in with anything that says I didn't get those done. I'm kind of thinking that at the end of the year, once I know which ones didn't get done, I'll just go in with my black dot marker and put dots in all of the ones that didn't get finished off. But we do need to make sure that we come back for the someday maybe tasks, because those ones weren't 100% filled in. I know there are more. But flipping forward, we have the book club, that one's done, and then my no spend challenge. So I know for a fact that today I have already spent against the rules. So we can grab my black dot marker, and on the 19th, spent. And I also did that yesterday. And I think I did it the day before as well. Having now just checked my bank app, I can say that this one, this one, this one, and these two were also yes spend days. That doesn't necessarily mean that on the other days we didn't spend money. It's more just like anything in black means we spent against the rules, because them's the rules. The rest of them just get a grey dot to say that we did not break the rules on those days. So no spend in grey, yes spend in black. I know that the soft goal that I set for myself with regards to my no spend challenge was having 70% of days be in the grey. I'm not going to calculate that until we get to the end of the year. In fact, I might even not calculate it at all, but it was an interesting challenge to get myself being a little bit more mindful about my spending, and you can kind of see in particular which months were worse for that than others, and they usually revolve around the busy periods, mainly because our spending rules mainly revolve around takeout, and when I'm busy, I eat takeout. So yeah. Can't fill in the spending log because I haven't updated my budget just yet, but flipping over, and then we're onto the routine builder. So similar again, just using those dot markers to fill in the ones that have or haven't happened. Starting with the week numbers, we are currently in week 50, and I already know that a weekly reset is not going to happen, and it's not going to happen next week either, because I'm not going to be here. It might happen for week 52, so we'll leave that one there. Meal planning. We did meal plan for this week, and then meal planning for the next 2 weeks. That's going to happen maybe in Melbourne with my family, so we'll see. When it comes to the grocery shopping, this one is not so much that the grocery shopping didn't get done, it's more so it did not get done by me, and it's probably not going to, so we'll just dot those ones out as well. In terms of doing my laundry, yes, I have done that, but I'm not going to do it next week because I'm not going to be here, so I can put a black dot for that one. And on these other black dot ones, they were either because I was away or possibly because I was sick. I know that these 3 were because I was away. I'm thinking maybe that black one was because I was sick. Towel laundry, that one's not going to happen until we get back because we're going to be away. Bathroom cleaning, I'm just gonna call it here. It's not going to happen. And this isn't because my bathroom isn't getting cleaned. It's just because I don't clean everything in the bathroom all at once, which is what this was recording. In terms of days off, I will be having those on holiday, so I will just put my grey dot on those ones. And time out of the house beyond grocery shopping, that is certainly happening because we are leaving the house. Now, when it comes to my monthly tasks, monthly reset in November did not really happen, so we can put black dots on those ones. The only thing it really happened for was goal review and planner review. So those ones can be grey, but the others will be black. Converting notes to content ideas, I am not going to do that for December either, so I'll just put a black dot for that one. And then in terms of content planning, that has happened for both months, along with all of these tasks, which say that they're patron tasks or Patreon tasks, but technically they're for my memberships, because my YouTube members and my Patreon members get the same perks. The only ones we can't put in yet are the wallpaper for December, because that one comes out at the end of the month, and the lettering practice for December, which I'm hoping to get done before I leave. But honestly, I leave tomorrow and I still need to, finish this video and edit it. So we'll have to wait and see. It might get postponed. Not too sure yet, but the rest of the stuff in here can get ticked off. That being said, the release schedule also comes out later in the month, so not that one. Relationship meeting has happened for this month. Life admin days. I mean, technically speaking, we did do our like declutter days, so I'm gonna count it. Those are the only ones that have happened this entire year, but I'm gonna count them. And then hair dyeing, unless I do it today, it's not gonna happen, and I'm not gonna do it today. I could technically do it the day we get back because that is the last day of the year, so I'll leave it for now. I'm not super optimistic about it, but it might happen. In terms of my monthly reset for this month, technically speaking, these things weren't done as the reset, but they did get done. So the office space, yes. Home environment, yes. That was part of like the big kind of end of year reset that we did. Digital space, also done. Physical self, not so much. Goal planner and planner review, that's kind of what we're doing here, so those ones did get finished. I did quite like this layout for this year. I thought that it was a bit of fun to use. I like having, these set things that you're doing each week and these set things that you're doing each month. But now as I'm moving to a more kind of like cyclic and fortnightly schedule, this layout needed to change a little bit. I also wanted to bring it out of my yearly collections and put it into my everyday journal, just so that I didn't necessarily have to lock myself in to tracking the same things across the entire of the year, because sometimes things don't work out and they need to be tweaked. But flipping over, now we're on to the future me problems. So in this one, really all I have to do is go through each of the tasks and consider, well, first of all, has it been done? Because then I can cross it off and add it into the 23-23s. 2, is it something that I actually just don't want to do anymore and I can cross that off in a different way? Or 3, does it need to be moved forward? In preparation for this video and knowing that I was going to be migrating a lot of this stuff, I actually took photocopies of the pages of the future me problems. Probably should have waited until I'd gone through them all, but we're going to update it on here as well as in my book so that I can just take these pages to the next future me problems list rather than having to flip back constantly, or like having to rewrite them on a separate piece of paper and then bring them back into the notebook. That just feels messy. So resetting my laptop, still want to do that, needs to be brought forward. Making a list of my YouTube playlists with links, I have started doing that, so I will half cross it off, but it needs more doing, so it's also going to get brought forward. In terms of making new Spotify playlists, I still want to do that. In fact, I've actually put that one on my 101 things list, so I'm going to put a migrated arrow, but I'm not going to put it on the future me problems because it's already captured somewhere else. Making an office inventory is also on my 101 things list, so a little arrow for that. And then making pen swatches, I would still like to do that, so we're going to push those forward, but not onto the 101 things. That one's going to be on the future me problems. In terms of art cart dividers, I don't think I necessarily want dividers per se, but I would like to revamp the way that I'm doing my storage in there. So rather than a migrated arrow, I'm going to put a cancelled arrow. Just write myself a note that I want to do it a little bit differently. So kind of bringing it over, but tweaked. In terms of the routine task lists, I kind of did this for my work, but not so much for like other areas of my life. And at this stage, I don't really think that I want to do that. Also, these spans of time that I've listed are not the spans of time that I'm really using anymore, so I'm not going to bring them over with those kind of descriptors anyway. And then on here we have a jaffle maker. I would still like this, I just don't think it belongs in my future me problems list, it belongs in my wish list. So we're going to do a migrated arrow, but make a note that this is not getting migrated to the future me problems, it's getting migrated to somewhere else. For pencil storage, I do technically have a pencil case for my pencils now, so I've kind of started working on that one. And in terms of sticker storage, I got rid of all my stickers, so I don't really need to do that anymore. Nice and easy. A book club tracker printable is something I'd still like to do, so we can move that one over. I'm thinking maybe it needs to be on a different collection rather than my future me problems, maybe in a like list of ideas of things to make for the shop. Also, as I'm going through, I'm just using a dot marker that's green so I can kind of see the ones in particular that I've said like, hey, we're bringing those over. Just because in doing the little arrows, it kind of blends a little bit too well. I needed things to stand out. So book club tracker printable, yes. Book club stickers, maybe. I'll put a smaller green dot on that one. Travel perfume I would still like to get, so that one's going to get migrated over. But Little Book of Wisdom, I think that I've decided I don't need that one right now, so that one's not gonna get migrated. Before I forget, I kind of want to just go through the entire list and take out all of the ones that I know are finished so that I can add them into the 2323s from back there. So at a glance, things that I know that happened, I have done an events wish list. I have also done a favorite meals collection. I haven't added anything to it, but the collection is actually there. Flipping over, I have used up the old moisturizer. That one was sitting in the drawer for a while, so I'm kind of glad it's gone. I've also revamped my thumbnail file. So the kind of, I don't know, template file that I use for my thumbnails, it was becoming very cluttered. Moving my projects list to the LTC, long-term collections. Technically, I moved it to my yearly collections, but I think that counts, so I'm gonna put it is done. Decluttering my stationery certainly happened, and building out our notebook database, which is in our free resource library, linked in the description box, that one is done as well. Clearing out the fuck it bucket, that one I did as part of my big declutter. And I think for now, that is all I've got. But if we flip back to the someday maybe list, we can add those in. So let's see, just making sure I haven't accidentally added any of them, but using the moisturizer, revamping the thumbnail file, moving the projects list, decluttering my stationery, building the notebook database, and making the events wish list. Ideally, I would have filled this in with the first 23 things that I did from the list, like in terms of order of completion, not order of writing them down, but I can't remember when I did which one, so really, if I wanted that, I should have filled it in as I went. But someday maybe tasks, we can put that all the way up to 23. Ah, look at that progress. In terms of the other ones that we have on the future me problems list though, we just need to go through and get rid of any that I don't want to do, and any that I do, I need to highlight on my little sheet to say that it's getting brought over. To do this part, I just put on some music and considered each item individually. If you want to have a snoop and look at my list though, feel free to pause the video, zoom in, all of that good stuff. None of it is particularly exciting. Typically the things that get added to my future me problems are stuff like life admin tasks. Those little things that you want to do at some point, it's just not a right now, not a this week or a this month kind of thing. I did also note as I went through that there are some double ups between this and my 101 things list. So anything that I knew was a double up, I decided to get rid of from the future me problems. Effectively because I've already set it as a little goal for myself for next year. Now as I've gone through and specified what is happening with each of these tasks though, we can flip on over. As said, nothing to do here, nothing to do here, but now we're into the 2024 pages. Starting with my word of the year, I want this box to be for the word itself, this box be for why I picked the word, and then this one is just going to be a little definition of the word from the internet. The word that I'm going for in 2024 is conscious, and I'm kind of hoping that with making this my word of the year, I'll actually get good at spelling it. I have to look it up every single time currently, but in terms of definition, it is either aware of and responding to one's surroundings, having knowledge of something, or deliberate and intentional of an action or feeling. And that definition in particular is the reason that I picked the word. Having put that in now, I don't actually like the style of writing that I've used, so I think I might try and pull this little box up and stick in a new one. Before I do that though, I'm just going to write it on the new piece of paper, because there's not much point in pulling it off and then possibly ruining the page to stick something on to ruin it again. Well, ruin. I just don't like the way it looks. I'm thinking that for my why, or kind of reasoning box in particular, I'm just going to use regular capital letter font, so I might do the same for this box too. I also just think I got too close to the edges, so it'd be nice to write it down and then cut it out. So the sizing of that is a little bit wider, which is fine. We'll just cut it out and see how I can stick it in. Then at least the lettering style on this box is going to match just a little bit better with that reasoning box. And I have a little bit of a buffer around the text, so it doesn't look so squashed. Don't think I need to go quite as far over there, so a little bit left. That looks pretty cute. And then cut off the top, leaving a little bit of extra space so that we can still stick that washi tape on. I think that looks much better. Now we just need to see if we can get the other one up without completely ruining the page. So far so good. Oh dear. I might actually be able to salvage that piece of washi as well, which is kind of nice. Though it might be too well stuck to the craft paper. I'm gonna have such a hard time getting this central. to the extent where I might just have to let the tiny tape go and get a new one. But double-sided tape to stick that into the notebook. Just putting it in a slightly different place because the box is a little bit differently sized and I want it to have a nice buffer of space around the ones that are already there. And I quite liked the washi tape before, how it wasn't in the corners, because every other box on this layout has it in the corners. Just for a bit of like visual interest, I want it to be along the top. Plus I've already cut my box with that in mind, so kind of makes sense to keep it that way. The nice part about the grid washi is that you can actually just use the grid to cut it so that it looks straight, if that's what you're aiming for, which I was. Looking very cute. As said in that Y box, I'm just writing down the reason behind setting this word. Effectively, a little bit of journaling to describe what it means to me, why I've selected it, what it's related to, that kind of thing. We do have a separate video on the channel about why I picked my word and going through the different iterations. That was actually one thing that I kind of liked from 2023, if we can find it. Already lost in my own journal. But here I put down the runners up, or what I wrote was runes up, but it's fine. It was kind of nice to have those words in there as like, hey, these were some of the contenders, the possibilities, the potentials. I didn't put a space in for this year, but I kind of would have liked to have done that. Maybe I'll remember it for next year. I doubt it. I'll probably have to write that down. But as said, we don't have to set anything up for the goals just yet, just because I haven't set my goals. Once I have set my goals, once I know what I'm working on for quarter one, then I will put them in here. Flipping over, we have the 101 things list and the spoilers that come with it. So we are on to the 24 24s in 2024. On this one, mainly what we need to do is label the axis down here for the 24 things that I want to do 24 times. So rotating the notebook. As we've been going through the previous pages, I've kind of been brainstorming them. So ones that I'm going to put on my list are calls to my parents, social outings, dates with Vogel, little treats, time spent outside, future me problems that I've ticked off the list, days where I had 1 liter of water, that's where I have it as actual water, not as Coke Zero, 24-minute workouts, days without having fast food, and then we're into those typical ones like movies watched, TV show seasons, podcast episodes, and games played. What I also want to do is alcoholic drinks made, because I have quite a big stash of different alcohols and I never really use them, and I like to make cocktails. After that one, we're gonna have new foods that I've either made or tried. This one is just for fun or long-term collection layouts. And you might have noticed as we're going through these, I'm kind of grouping them by like ideas. So for instance, all of the media consumption ones together. So the next set are for like work kind of things. So we're gonna have 24 live streams, 24 community events, collaborations, shop sales, and then semi-adjacent is $100 saved. And then for the last 3, I'm thinking about making them kind of like self-care related. So the first one will be days off, and then physical self-care tasks and mental self-care tasks. Very pleased to be going into the year with a full list of 24, but what we now need to do is add all of those labels to the subsequent pages. So the places where I'm going to be recording each of the instances of the 24 things. Those ones are just going to go next to the little dot on each of the different Dutch door pages we have here. So writing those out again, just going through and writing all of those headers in though. If you are looking for some inspiration for your 24 24s in 2024, or even just a 20 in 24, or like whatever you're doing, we do have a resource over on our free resource library. There's a link to that one in the description box, but effectively it's just kind of a brainstorm from the community about different things that you could put on a list like this. Of course, my ones are just ideas as well. You can take some of those if you'd like, but I think it's important to consider which ones you could realistically do 24 times in the year, which ones are actually going to be applicable to you. But also remember, it's okay if you don't complete every single one 24 times. Like I said, I don't really put a lot of pressure on myself to get this one done 100%. Much the same for my 101 things list. It's alright if I do not complete all 101 things. The year I do that though is going to be a big year. Now as all of those are in and looking cute and ready to actually get going with, this one, don't need to do anything for you. Flipping over, future me problems. This is where those lists from before are going to be very helpful. So I need to transfer all of the stuff from these ones, anything that has a green dot, onto the new list and also add any others that I think of as I go through. This is another one where I just put on some music and did it at my leisure, making sure to be pretty critical of the ones that I'm transferring over, because if I'm gonna take the time to rewrite them, they better be things that I actually want to do. Even some of the things that I had down on the list as green dots, those ones that I'd already decided I was gonna transfer, when it came to actually writing them in my journal, I was like, yeah, no, I cannot be bothered writing this, so it must not be that important. The kind of friction that comes with writing things down is a very nice filter for what should or should not be on my list, or in particular what I should or should not be transferring. I found that using that photocopy of the Future Me Problems list from 2023 sped up the process so much. Otherwise, I would have had to flip back and forth between the two layouts over and over again, which 1, probably doesn't make for very good viewing, and 2, would have just been a lot more tedious. Also, because it was a photocopy, I could be a little bit more messy with it, scribble on it as I went through, scratch things out if I didn't want them, any of that kind of thing. I did accidentally start writing one down that I thought I needed to do because I highlighted it, wherever it is. But I've actually already swatched my Papermate flares, so don't actually need to put that down. I just left the P in there, and I'm sure I will eventually get another set of pens and I can write that in for the pen swatching. I actually just remembered that one of these, I wanted to nest it, but I didn't have enough space at the end of the list. So I need to go and add that in. And that's finding color matches for the Tombos. Well, I mean color matches for all of my pens actually, so I'm just going to put color matches down. Pen color matches. But you can see that on the lists there were some that I ended up circling, and that's just because they don't really belong in here. They belong in other collections. So I'm going to hold on to those papers and I'm going to put them in the correct spaces. It's both impressive and daunting to see how much space I've already filled in on my Future Me problems, but that's alright. This one is finished. Flipping over. As said, the savings doesn't have anything to add, but for bills, we can go and write down a couple that I know happen every month. Those being Netflix, Spotify, my phone, YouTube Premium, power, and internet. At this stage, I don't think there are other ones that come up monthly, and then the quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4 I will fill in as those quarters progress. So as bills come up, I'll jot them down in here. Mainly so I can kind of have a snapshot overview of all of the things that come in at different points in the year, because I'm not very good at remembering them myself. Now, for the home projects, I just want to add some projects that I know we want to do next year. So for instance, getting our windows washed. I want to get the deck stained. Vogel and I were talking about getting a gardener because he's just finding it hard to keep up with, and I'm not going to do it. I also want to kind of just revamp our bedroom space, so getting some new furniture in there in particular. And I want to finish my desk setup in terms of things like cable managing and also just getting my computer fixed. And I know that Vogel has said he wants some storage in the garage. And I think that's all we have at the moment. I'm going to take this to our next household meeting though and write down any other ideas that we have. But already having 3 on this list before the year has even started, I think is plenty. After this though, we have the stats pages, and as said, I want to put the washi tape on there. So this is just the same washi tape that we used before. I need to cut off some little pieces to stick in the corners. I do wish that I had done this at the same time as the last ones, because now I have to kind of guesstimate how big I need to make them, but we'll see if we can get them to look kind of similar. Use my little tweezers to put them in the right spot. It doesn't really matter if they're not exactly the same, but I would like them to match. I like it when things match in my journal. Matchy matchy. That looks pretty cute. Then we'll do the next one, cut that off carefully, and then just tweeze them into place. Looking excellent. So the things that I'm going to be tracking the stats for next year are YouTube, this channel, the vlog channel, Instagram, my email list, Patreon, the channel team, so like both of my memberships, Discord, Circle, which is where my course is probably going to be hosted, or at least that was my plan at this stage, my Facebook page, my TikTok, which I barely use, the Facebook group, and Pinterest, which I also barely use, which is why these two are on the very last page. I said nothing to actually fill in here, so flipping over, don't need to do anything with this guy, don't need to do anything with this guy, or this one, or this one. So while my yearly collections journal is looking beautifully up to date, I also need to fill in my everyday journal. Having a look at this one though, we do have a little flip out here, but I don't have to do anything on that one. That's just got different processes that I do on different time scales. We don't have to add anything to the year at a glance, that one's just here as a reference. This one we will have to fill in. This is effectively like my version of the future log. So it is for future planning. It gives me that kind of snapshot overview of the quarter, and it's organized so that we have week 1, week 2, yada yada yada, week 14. So each column is a day of the week, each row is a week of the quarter, with an extra row for the 14th, just so that it fit nicely. After this one, we have my content releases, and these ones are done on monthly calendars, mainly because my membership perks come out on a monthly basis. So January, February, March, because those are the 3 months in this first quarter. After that one, we're into little kind of goal related things. So these boxes are for the 101 things list, and specifically pulling over the ones that are going to happen in different periods of time. Whereas this one I was thinking of doing for like a 24 in 2024, where the middle one is kind of just a free space because there are 25 boxes. I haven't decided yet if these are going to be items from my 101 things list or if they're going to be other things. So don't think I'll fill that in today because I just want to have a little bit more of a think about it. But then after this one, we have my weekly tasks, or actually tasks that can be done at any point. It's just that I want to map them out according to the weeks along here. My 2 challenges or focus habits. And after that, we have my reflections. Don't need to do anything for that because that's at the end of each cycle. So this is like at the end of cycle 1, which is kind of like the end of January, end of cycle 2, which is close-ish to the end of February. But because that happens at the end of those periods of time, do not have to do anything with them. Similarly, don't have to do anything with this one just yet. So this is going to be for my quarterly reset and planning that out, and this one's a space to drop down anything that I need to do next quarter. Starting at the start though, and the first layout that we really need to fill something in on is this guy. For this one, it's again just a case of putting on some music and then racking my brain trying to think of everything that's going on in the next quarter. Thankfully, things like my Outlook calendar and my previous future log make this a little bit easier, but I'm also trying to build in some routines that I'm trying to establish for myself. So for instance, moving from weekly resets to fortnightly ones and putting those in here, along with having our home meeting on alternating weeks as well. I do find that having this overview of the entire quarter is very peace-inducing. It's just nice to see everything that's coming up, and also in a kind of like roughly calendar format. I'm not really as good at using the vertical style where you just have a list of numbers for each of the days of the month, and I also like the fact that the calendar doesn't cut off just because we move to a new month. If you've made it this far into the video, then you've probably seen my video about my planning style for 2024 and how I'm changing it up. If you haven't, it's certainly the next one to watch, but we're not there yet, we're still doing this. One of the things that I put down on the page, which I also talk about in that planning system video, is that week 13 is going to be my reset week. To indicate that on the calendar, I just put down some washi tape. This one is purple with pumpkins on it. It's technically a Halloween washi tape, but I like the purple. I thought it was cute, and it's also one of the only thin washi tapes that I still have, so it's going on the page too. This still gives me some space to write things down on each of those days, but because this is supposed to be my intentional week off from work to give myself a bit of a break, I don't want to be scheduling too much on there anyway. While there will probably be more things to add to this layout before we start the year, I think that it's looking pretty good so far. I know that some of the things that I put later into the quarter will probably end up having their dates moved, but it's very much the case that I'll be checking the actual dates of those happenings when I get closer to when they're actually happening. Very pleased with how this one is looking so far, but flipping over, this one is my release calendar for January, and at this stage I don't necessarily know exactly what is coming out, but I do know roughly when it's coming out. So we can at least go put some of those purple dots in to indicate the things that are coming out on different days. For instance, I know that we have a live stream every Monday, and I know that typically every Thursday and Saturday we have a video come out. We also have Discord happenings on Sundays, so for instance, our book club meetings, December's book club meeting, and January's. We also have the team hangout and then the community hangout. And as part of the hangouts, I also like to put in reminders so that people actually know they're happening. So the reminder for the team hangout will go 2 days earlier. The reminder for the team live stream will be here. I also typically like to release my tracker printables on around the 12th, or effectively whichever Friday is edging towards the middle of the month. So just so I can keep track of these dots, I will go and write some labels in for myself. myself. I'm not labeling the videos at this stage because I don't necessarily know what's coming out, but I can at least label when our live streams are going to be and any of the membership perks that I know are coming out on specific days. If you would like to join the team with a capital T, the people who get these perks, then there are details in the description box with links that you can follow to either our YouTube memberships or our Patreon memberships. 3 out of 4 of these events though, you don't actually have to be a team with a capital T member for, you just have to be over on our Discord. So you can jump over and join us there too if you want to. Now in terms of my release planning, this is something that I probably don't want to do too far ahead of time because, you know, things have a tendency to change. So I'm not going to fill any in for February or for March at this stage. But flipping over to this layout, as said, not sure at this stage if I want this to be things from my 101 things list, but these boxes are getting filled with those. Without giving away too many spoilers, we'll just add 1 to this list so you can see how it looks. So a little box that I can color in when the thing is done. Then I like to add in the number of the 101 thing, just so that I can kind of check it off here and also check it off in my other journal, kind of easier to find with its number. And then after that I write a description of what the thing is, usually just using the same wording from the yearly collections journal. So this one is go to the eye doctor. Actually, I think it's get my eyes tested, but you know, similar idea. That is one that I have intentionally scheduled for cycle 1. We can see it, here, eye test on the 9th. So it's gonna happen, it's booked in, it can go in the box for cycle 1. In terms of the cycles, these are 4-week periods. So this is like January 1st through to the 28th. This one is January 29th through to February 25th. And then the next cycle is the 26th of February through to the 24th of March. And then we have that reset week. I've also put a box in here for cycle 4 just because it's nice to plan ahead. Even though cycle 4 isn't captured in these pages specifically, it will still probably be in this journal. After this one, we have the tasks list. So I need to do a brainstorm of what I want to put on here and then start thinking which weeks in particular I want to do those tasks on. I would loosely like to have this list organized into like frequency kind of categories. So things that need to be done like every week, every 2 weeks, and then like monthly, more like cyclic for me. So again, I'm going to put on some music, write out my list, and then once it's all written in, that's when I actually ended up transferring it over. This was the place in particular that I tackled that idea of the bathroom cleaning and it, quote, not getting done for pretty much all of 2023. As I said, it did actually get done, it just didn't all get done at once. So when I was putting it onto this task list, I wanted to capture it as separate individual tasks. I'm thinking that might also help me to identify any problem areas or items that I just consistently put off week and week again. But in general, I think that this new format is going to work a lot better. And also having it in my everyday collections rather than my yearly collections. I have 1 extra space at the bottom because I couldn't think of quite enough things. I don't know. I like having an extra space. It's not like I kind of needed to fill it. But I did try and sort them in terms of frequency. We got a little bit messed up at the end because I started thinking of things after I'd already written a bunch of other stuff in, so they're just tucked to the bottom there. It doesn't need to be in frequency order, I just kind of liked the idea of it, and it's mostly in frequency order, so that'll be okay. In terms of my challenge habits, I think I'm actually just going to carry over the ones that I've already been using. Honestly, these are things that I still want to focus on, so getting my movement in every day and getting to bed at a more reasonable hour, and I think I'm going to keep the high bar, low bar for each of those the same. If you haven't heard of high bar, low bar, it's effectively like you set yourself a habit, and then you set a high bar and a low bar for it, where the low bar is something like super easy, to effectively give yourself partial credit for doing something towards the habit. Whereas the high bar is more like what you actually want to do. So this one is going to be for daily movement. So that's like exercise, getting up, moving around, in particular probably doing the elliptical because that's kind of the easiest thing for me to do. And my low bar is going to be doing 2 minutes on that, whereas my high bar is going to be 10. And for some people that is a laughably small high bar, but for me that's a pretty big high bar. I mean, considering usually I would do none. In terms of our other one, this is going to be getting to bed at a reasonable hour. So I'm going to write that down as sleepy time by 11 p.m. The low bar being in bed by 11, and then the high bar being in bed ready to sleep by 11. Each of the rows represents a week, and each of the column represents a day of the week. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so on and so forth. And then just like I have on this one, I just color it in based on whether I hit the high bar or the low bar. you can see that for the movement one in particular, I was doing a pretty good job of hitting my high bar. And then we got into the busy season of Vlogmas and all of that, and I completely fell off with it. But it was really working for actually getting me motivated to do some exercise, because prior to this, I was doing none. You can see I even kind of started off and I was like, not really doing it. And I'm like, no, we're gonna give this like the genuine college try, and it worked really well once I just got on and actually did it. Sleepy time, not so much, but I would like to focus on that a little bit more. At least I was actually getting into bed by 11, even if not sleep ready. But putting this guy to the side. After this one, we then have the reflection spaces. Don't need to do anything for those. And then after that one, we have places to write stuff out for the quarterly reset and the next quarter. No notes on that just yet. And right after this, we are into cycle 1, or effectively what my equivalent of a January plan with me is. I really like the theme for this month. I think it looks very cute, but I'm not going to fill this in until like the day before we actually start the cycle. If you enjoy this more real-time planning along with me format, then make sure you give the video a thumbs up so I know you want to see more. But for right now, if you wanted to see more about my planning system for 2024, the video at the top is the one to check out. Or if you just want to keep this party going, keep planning with me in this real-time format, then the one at the bottom is for you. Click or tap on either of those and I'll see you over there.